Hello everybody, it's Diddygoose back again with another video, but this video is a bit different. This time we're not on chess.com, as you guys can tell by the different setup we have, slightly different over here, but we're on Lee Chess, and actually I'm going to remove those arrows from the board because it's a bit annoying. But we're not playing a game either, but I'm going over a recent tournament. In fact, it was so recent, it was just a few hours ago. I played it just today. I don't know why I'm saying it like that, but yep, it was just today. And I played against 4 other people in my section and won 3 games, lost 1, but there were learning points from all of them, I think. But I'm gonna go ahead, run through all 4 of the games real quick, try to show you guys what I'm thinking when I'm playing my games, and then maybe you guys can pick up something while we're doing that. And I'm also gonna be learning from my own mistakes because there were a few mistakes in the games, and I really need to improve on those. But yeah, I was playing the under 1800 section because my over the board rating is 1554, as you guys can see at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to be on the bottom for all of the games, and then my opponent will be at the top. But yeah, so that's how it's going to be rolling, and let's get on started. So game 1, I played against Advith Amba, 1371 over the board. He was white, and I was black. So let's go ahead and look at this game. So d4, knight f6. Actually, I kind of do like the arrows, but they were just like so many of them. So I'm gonna reduce them just a little bit. So instead of 5, we're gonna go ahead with 3. And in the opening, they don't really matter too much. But he played this move, which I actually don't think I've seen before. Very interesting. Let's see if there's an opening name for it. The Trumpowski attack. Okay, I've heard of that. Heard of that one. And I played d5, which is the right move. He played e3. We played c5. And this is all normal. I played queen b6 because I'm a fan of queen b6 moves because of the French. French players love queen b6, so of course, by definition, I also love them. My opponent played queen c1, which feels really slow, or it just feels awkward. I thought they would just play something like b3 and be fine with it, but they did not do that. Queen c1 is not the best move because I guess you're moving your queen, but you could have been developing a knight or pushing a pawn. But I thought this was a little interesting because what happens if I take here? Apparently it's dead drawn because of this move, and he's starting to just go here. So you have to give him a check, and if they block, or let's say they hit him with this, then you go ahead and cover this again. So that's how you would, I guess, convert that, or not convert that, but kind of just like respond to that. But my opponent played queen c1, and I continued by centralizing my knight, which is fine. He played over there. I brought my other knight, and over here I missed a really interesting idea that only an engine could find, and it only happens like at a hard death. Oh, and then it disappeared, and then it comes back. It's like a really weird engine-y line that I missed. Of course I missed it, but with the knight move here, I added another attacker onto this pawn, so we have 1 attacker, 2 attackers, 3 attackers. He only has 1 and 2 defenders, so it is a free pawn. And that's the second best move, because apparently there was g5. So, I mean, of course, free pawn is great, -1. That makes sense, but apparently there was this move, g5, which does hang a free pawn, but let's say if knight takes, I'm going to take back, he takes with his bishop, and then you can go ahead, put your rook here, and you could be getting this semi-open file. That's going to be perfect for attacking against your opponent, so like this. And if they kind of retreat back like this, you can take here, or you can play this move first, or you can take this pawn. There's a lot of hanging things now, but if you take here first and they take back, well, you have a really strong queen because it's going to be attacking this piece as well. Your pieces are very nicely centralized, and you've got a good attack. And when you win this pawn back, so you're not really down material. But there's also bishop h6. The idea being that, like, if they play something, they just waste their time. You could take this pawn with any piece, really, because of this pin. So I guess that's another reason why queen c1 doesn't look so cool. But that's such an engine move. I did not even think of this. I could never have thought of this. Even if I see this position again, I don't think I can see that. But I just took the free pawn, which is fine. Over here, my opponent did not take back, so I did have the opportunity to take here, but he just takes back, so I still am only up 1 pawn, so it's not like a second free pawn. So yeah, it wasn't like a second free pawn, but of course g5 still comes along over here, because of course if they take, you take back, he takes, you put your rook here. Amazing. If they go here, yep, you're going to go ahead and pin this pawn. So now the pawn can't even take back if it wanted to. And then you're going to take here, and then it's amazing. So like now, if they don't do anything, you go ahead and take here, and if they take back, you don't even give them this check. Apparently, the engine has better ideas. But if you do this, this is also pretty cool. You're forking the king and queen. The bishop does block, but it's probably fine. But yeah, this is really interesting. Really interesting stuff that the engine sees that I don't, of course. I don't know how I would ever see this, but yeah, that's interesting. But I just played e3. I didn't want to take another one because like his bishop takes back and I have to spend time running my queen around again. I was thinking about e4, or not e4, sorry, d4, just pushing this pawn. And you guys can see actually just running away with the queen would have just been dead drawn. But if I push this, I felt like this piece, this pawn is kind of just out there. It's hard to defend, so like I would have to play this move, but it would just get taken. So yeah, so the engine sees what I was seeing too, f6 and then this, but it just seemed really slow, and my king is still in the center, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. So I was like, forget that. I mean, I already won my pawn, because even if he takes back now, I still have the knight and the queen, and he only has the knight, so it'll still be a free pawn. And I just played e6, and I was like, okay, I'll just keep developing. So we went down this line, and apparently it's actually not that good for us. Interesting. So my opponent found this check, and I had to block with the bishop, or else I just kind of move my king for no reason, or I block my other bishop, which would be pretty bad. But this trade happened, I lose castling right, so my king is stuck in the center of the board. And then my queen is knocked around. I come back to f6, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. And then over here, my opponent played c4. Of course, if I take here, it's really bad for us. Really bad, because your king is still in the center of the board, and things are about to get messy. If you try to block, there's pins coming up, or maybe this way, and you're about to lose a piece. You're going to lose not just a piece, but maybe even your king very soon. So, not taking there, for sure. I just brought a rook over here, because how does he defend this? Because he can't really play b3, or else I just take his rook. And my opponent found just pinning this pawn, because if I take, then he can just take my queen. Or he just takes my rook. This would be horrible, because you can't even take back. Another idea, I guess, was just this move, which is interesting, because after you take, and if he takes back, you still get this free pawn. So it doesn't really do a good job of defending. But I felt like this was the only move that kind of saves it. There's also, I guess, this move, but then you lose your knight, mess up your pawn structure, and then still lose the pawn. So that doesn't work either. And then, of course, when he pins this pawn, you got to break it. And I also have one piece left to develop, so I go ahead and break that. Really easy. Now, as I was saying, he had knight a3 to defend this, but I can just take. And we're going to look at that line soon. But apparently the engine had seen queen e5 for me. And I was thinking about these moves because, well, we have a knight looking here, bishop looking here, and maybe if we play something like g3, we could kind of sack stuff. I don't know. But I was looking at ideas like this, but I was like, well, after f4, I'm kind of just going back. So I'm not exactly sure what the engine sees here, but I'm sure it's good because it's the engine. But I took over here, he takes back, and you still can't take here, but there's the killer move, knight c3, attacking the rook. And of course, if the rook moves somewhere like here to attack our knight, you give him a check, and not just a check, but a fork, a royal fork. So we would win the game straight off the bat with that. Apparently, the best move is bishop g5, which I did see, guys. So I would have just played this, and if they try to attack me again, I have the royal fork. That's true. So like he moves back, but it's not great for me to take this because then he's also going to take a queen. But I can just take a free piece. And this is great for me. I have a free piece. My king is decently safe. And this pawn's also about to fall. So, amazing for me. If he doesn't do that and he plays f4 instead, which was the best move, I still felt like I was good enough after his check here. It was pretty cool. There are also ideas of something like this. But yeah, this still works out to be good for us. There was another thing that I was seeing. But I can't remember. But yeah, after f4, we still have this check. He moves over. We take his queen. He takes ours, but we're going to be winning a pawn in the near future because we're just better. Wait, actually, I don't know about this. Oh, you take his bishop first. I think I missed this. But yeah, you're supposed to take his bishop first. Over here, I don't know if I saw this, actually. I don't know what I would have been thinking. I can't remember, because I'm pretty sure I went down this line. But I wasn't exactly sure. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, my opponent played rook here, which is a mistake. Drops the pawn, and now all of a sudden I have rooks lined up at your queen, and your king is not safe either on this back rank. He played over here, just getting away, and he's attacking my pawn. And I'm like, I mean, if I play this, I should still be winning. Let's check it out. Yeah, I'm still winning, but I didn't want to risk it with like this check, and then all of a sudden he has a lot of attacks, and maybe my opponent gets something because I'm not the best player. So I just played b6. Now his bishop can't take a pawn, his queen can't take a pawn, and even if he tries to stack his rooks somehow in the future, they can't take pawns. He plays this, and I bring my other rook over. Now there's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of ideas. It's like if we turn on this threat, I love Lichess because it has a show threat symbol. The threat being 92. 92 is a fork, but it's also just hanging a piece, right? But, sorry, excuse me. Okay, I thought I was going to sneeze, but I didn't. I think, yep, the mic is still all good. Okay, yeah, so it's a fork, but I mean, it's a free piece. If he just moves his king, yeah, it'll be great. We're gonna win pieces, and it's gonna be awesome. But let's say if his rook takes, then you take his queen, and of course he's got to take that queen back. But if he takes that queen back, you take his other rook with check. Bishop is forced to take, and then you bring your other rook finally in for the killer blow, and it's checkmate on the back rank. So that was our threat. Our opponent played this move, which sort of solves it because there's no more back rank. But I still played 92 anyways. The idea being that, well, yeah, of course, if he takes again, same idea applies where I'm going to take his queen, his rook moves over, and all of a sudden I have access to the back rank where it's going to be checkmate really soon after he sacrifices a few more pieces. So he saw that, and he doesn't do it. But I'm already ahead in material and activity, so I was like, why don't we just trade? That makes sense. Over here, now my knight's in quite a bit of danger. And I was looking pretty hard to see if there's any back rank ideas, but couldn't see anything. So we play knight c3. He brought his rook back, and then I hit him with this fork, where I'm attacking his rook and his pawn. So my opponent did what seems most reasonable and just trade off one of these rooks. But I have this intermezzo, in-between move, taking his rook first with the knight, because it's check. After the bishop takes, I take his rook, and after this, it's pretty simple because my opponent is already down many pawns. And after I simplify the position even more, it's just a winning king endgame. And I can very easily just promote, and I'm sure you guys know how to checkmate with a queen. So that was that game. Very interesting game. This game was pretty safe for me. So, not too many mistakes. But the next game against Mr. Enzo, let's see where it is. There it is. I was white this time, and my opponent was 1405. 1405. And I think there was a little bit of a hiccup here. But anyways, we go into the Alekhines defense in this move order. Cool, cool, cool. And I'm going to develop my pieces. Cool. I play c3 here because it's defending this pawn and at the same time stopping any knight trouble over here. So I play that and I continue to develop my pieces. I played bishop e3, which apparently is a really big mistake. And I'm not sure exactly why, but apparently it is. Oh my gosh, it's a really big mistake actually, as the computer thinks about this. I mean, we're giving it the bishop here, that's true. But I wasn't exactly sure what this bishop's going to do anyways. I couldn't really develop it here either. I was thinking maybe I played my bishop here to g5. Because it's putting this pin, and my opponent would like to play something like e6 or e5 and kind of solidify himself. But after something like h6, it just seems weird because you just bring your bishop back. I don't know. So I just played this move because I thought that's fine. But apparently it's not, as the computer thinks more and more. He should have played d5. And all of a sudden I have a backwards pawn. That's going to be a bit of a weakness in the future. Interesting. He could also play e5. If I take, then I'm not sure why it suggests e5 actually, so let's look at this line. e5, if I take, he just pushes this pawn. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I guess takes here, trade this off. There's a hanging pawn in the center of the board after he castles and brings this rook out. So I guess there's a lot of easy targets for black, with these pawns being pretty bad, and our king's going to be a bit exposed because our f-pawn's missing. So I guess that's what it is, but he did not play that. He played this move, developing his bishop, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to kick him away. And of course, if he goes back to h5, I just have g4 available, and all of a sudden he's trapped. Nowhere to go. So either he can bring his bishop all the way back, apparently bishop back to c8 is the best move, but he traded, and I took my queen, and black's advantage is slightly fizzled out. Now he plays queen b6, which is the French player's move, prodding at this weak pawn. And I wasn't exactly sure what to do, how to defend it. Apparently queen e2 was the best. Queen f2 is also really interesting because it protects this pawn, but it also keeps an eye on this pawn if in any future it's weak, and castling would be nice. And because castling was going to put a rook over here, and we have some threats, but our opponent can also castle, and he should be safe. That's interesting. Queen f2. I went ahead and played b3. It's really weakening, apparently, and you guys can see why, right? There's a bishop that's fianchetto and looking straight at my rook, and I just removed another one of those pawns that was kind of saving my rook. If I castle, this queen is going to be looking straight at my king. So there's another pin. So there's like a cross of pins over here. It's going to be pretty dangerous. So apparently e5 was the best move here, and that's just to blow everything up, because right now the king is still in the center. Black's pieces are crisscrossing me all over the place, and black's king himself is pretty safe, so he should have blown it up. He played rook here. I brought out my knight, which I felt like was a good move. He castled. I castled, so my king's a little safer, but these pins are annoying. He brings his queen back, and I played this move, which apparently is a inaccuracy, which is really interesting. And I guess if he brings his queen back here, there's another weak square. Once again, I'd probably have to repair it with like this rook, but then I'd drop this piece, this pawn, and then everything starts falling. So that would be horrible. So against something like this, I don't know what I'd have to do. b4, but yeah, it's also really weakening. I don't know. Because after b4, this pawn is going to be super weak because there's no pawns protecting it, or no pawns able to protect it. So I wasn't looking forward to that. So yeah, it makes sense why it's not a very good move for me. And yeah, it's actually a really big advantage for my opponent, -2. But my opponent plays this move. What? What's going on? So I took back, and he's got this check. Okay. So I move my king over, he gives up his bishop, and I take it. Is this worth it for my opponent? So my opponent saw this entire line, probably at least up till here, and he decided that it was worth it for him. But is it really worth it? I mean, he took 2 of our minor pieces, or he used 2 of his minor pieces to get a rook and 2 pawns. So if we look at the material on the top and at the bottom here, it says our opponent is up by +1, so good for him. But these are minor pieces. These are 2 pieces that when they work together, they are devastating. They are devastating. So even though we are slightly down material, if we can get these 2 pieces up and running, black doesn't stand a chance. So he should have played something so easy like this, just pinning this queen bishop over here, and all of a sudden one of my pieces is out of the game for a little bit, and he would have to concentrate like that. But he played a6, which is really interesting. So, and I was like, okay, I got to start moving my pieces into the game. So I played this move. He kicks me out with b5. I bring my knight over here, and it would be really nice if I could get over here. He plays something like e6, and then all of a sudden I jump in here with check, and my knight cannot be taken by this queen because my queen's protecting it. And that's just an amazing spot for the queen, or for this knight. Maybe in the future we could get like a pawn up here, bring our queen over here, and checkmate or something like that. That would be amazing, right? That's exactly what we're looking for. Unfortunately, our opponent saw through our plans, played e6, and now my knight can't really go anywhere. I still tried to make it work, bringing this knight over here. We can still get the check over here, bring a rook here maybe, and then try to go for some sort of checkmate. That would be nice. It would be amazing, for sure. Unfortunately, my opponent has other plans. He will just bring his king up, so I can't go here, or else he just takes. I take with the queen, he takes with his king, and all of a sudden I'm just losing. I just lost a knight. So I brought my rook because I was like, okay, I really want to put this knight over here. And over here he plays f4, and all of a sudden the advantage swings back into my favor slightly, just ever so slightly. Maybe if we wait a bit longer, it will keep going higher and higher. But this move opens up his king to a boatload of attacking possibilities, because there's this diagonal that is really strong. There's this rank that's also really strong now, so maybe my queen could come into this square, like through here in the future. So I was like, yeah, of course, I'm going to open this place up. So he takes f5. He can't take with the rook, or else you just lose. He took with this pawn. If he takes with this pawn, it's a bit messy, but I would bring my knight back, maybe put a check over here, try to maybe bring a rook into the game. But it would be pretty interesting. But he took with the other pawn, and I brought my knight over here. And now look at this. I mean, he has a pass pawn, and where do knights belong? In front of pass pawns. So I need to put my knight over there. So I go ahead and don't actually do so. Oh, I forgot about this part. Apparently, I did not put my knight over there, even though that's the best move, and it makes sense. But I put my queen over here, and I'm guessing that I wanted to use this diagonal. So that's, I guess, one thing. Also, I guess I didn't want his queen to come into like this square, so I'm kind of zoning off his queen. I want to be the powerful one. But yeah, knight d5 is for sure stronger. I can't remember why I wouldn't play that. Queen b7 is a thing, I guess, but it's not that much of a problem because, I mean, we're not losing any pieces for sure. Anyways, I played queen d5 over here, which is still okay. And he brings his rook over here, and I give him a check because I do have the check available. He moves his king back, and now, like, okay, so my knight can come into the game eventually, like this. There's like quite a few ways that it can come into the game. I don't know. But my bishop's not in the game yet, and wherever I look, wherever my bishop looks, there's just pawns, enemy pawns, and it can't move anywhere. So I have to make it some space with the move b4. Now I could come down to c2 and then reroute over here, and all of a sudden it's part of the attack. So my opponent's rook went over there, and I go to bishop c2. And now we're just threatening, just giving this check, and if he moves over, then we have some sort of pin, so we might be able to do something fun with that. And unfortunately, my opponent sees through my tricks. He goes ahead, plays queen g7. So when I do this check, he moves his king over. This rook's not pinned anymore. It could still move because of the queens looking at each other. So now I bring the knight into the center, which again apparently is some sort of inaccuracy. I'm not sure where exactly the knight is going from c2. Maybe it's going through e1 and coming back on this side. But it seems like a long effort. A lot of effort for nothing. Anyways, I go over here. He plays rook e4. And I played queen to b6. I was like, okay, well, there's a lot of pawns that are free. And we do have this piece imbalance. But if we can turn this into like passed pawns, these two into passed pawns, we would for sure be winning. Unfortunately, my opponent got this move in queen e5, and I actually got really scared because, well, he's just threatening to trade down, and I don't know how good that is for me, honestly. So I was thinking of moves like queen f2, where, like, of course, if he comes down here, all of a sudden he just loses a piece. But I realized, wait, so queen f2, and then if he comes, and this entire idea, I guess, is basically just so that he doesn't really trade. But trading kind of leaves us in the same spot, so I wanted a better spot, of course. So then I saw queen takes a6, because now if he does the same move, he did not do the same move, but if he does the same move, now I take this pawn as well, and if he takes over here, I take back, and look at this. We have two passed pawns. Not just that, so looking at here, looking at this position, we have two passed pawns. This bishop and these pawns are protected perfectly. Knight is also protected. Knight's kind of blocking off this queen for a little bit, so we can just start pushing this b pawn, honestly. So yeah, like it says rook b8, you play b5. You push this b pawn because that is your win condition now. So I love this position, and I'm guessing my opponent saw this as well, which is why he tried to protect this pawn. I played queen e7 to tell him to go away. After this, I was like, okay, I'm going to go try to win this pawn. He goes back over there. Apparently the best move was f4, so I'm doing stuff over on the queen side. You have to do something on the king side. You need to always be in control, right? You always want to be in control, and f4 is a great way to just try to open this up, get in control again. But he played this, which is very passive, and I was like, okay, that's just a free pawn. Cool. Now my opponent's like, okay, I want to trade. I'm sorry. I wanted to do this a long time ago, but hopefully it's better late than never. Over here, I crossed my mind, can I do something like takes here, his queen takes over here, I take his rook, and we have two minor pieces and a rook for his queen. It is winning for us, it should be winning for us, but I don't know why I'd subject myself to such torture. So after this, I just took his piece. He takes back. I move my king, and my bishop's really strong. If I can get my queen on like this diagonal, without getting blocked or anything, without any danger, I almost have checkmate, which is really interesting. He brings his queen back. So I see this diagonal over here. Of course, if he gets his queen over here, it's not going to be fun because he could just kind of trade off. So I play knight c7, blocking that thing, and he plays this move. And what did I say about that diagonal? The queen is no longer there to protect, and all of a sudden it's basically checkmate. My opponent resigned one move before checkmate. Rook f6 is the only move, and after taking, it's over. So going back to the beginning, because there were a few mistakes in this one, was I guess this bishop move. I did not need to move this bishop at all. Apparently bishop c4 is fine, and I kind of thought about this idea, but kind of gave up on it. But the idea was like, of course, if he just protects it, I'll just take, and he has double isolated pawns. It's great for me. Should be great for me, but you can kind of just like move back to like any of these squares. I didn't really see what exactly the point was. So yeah, so after something like this, I'd have to back up, and it's just awkward. I'm not sure what my pieces are doing, what that bishop is doing. Well, I guess I'm still looking at this diagonal, which is always nice. And I also played the Italian game, so I guess I should enjoy that. But anyways, I played this, which was a bit of a mistake because it opens up my king, and then we had a lot of trouble with these, like this queen over here and this bishop, which is why b3 did not need to be played. I did not see actually queen e2 and queen f2 just protecting my pawn, which is why I played b3. But this got really scary. Over here, it starts to fizzle out a little bit because he just removed one of those pins. So I should have just broken the other pin as well. I could play like rook c1, so making sure that this isn't super weak when his knight moves away and the rook is attacking his pawn. I could play rook d1 as well. I guess just putting it in the center. Should have done something, but I played this move, and yeah, there's a lot of weaknesses still in my position, and he could have just kept attacking. But he saw this thing, went for this, but I came out over here and ended up victorious. Another thing was that maybe I should try to bring my rook into the game as well, because it was kind of just sitting over there for like the entirety of the game. Almost the entirety. It kind of just played a defensive role. So I don't know, like maybe over here, maybe I could play like rook f1, it's okay-ish. But yeah, I don't know. But he still has f4 and things like that. So like f4, and I would love to get my knight over here, but actually, why not? Oh, because he still has check, and then I lose my queen. This would be horrible. So my rook was playing a defensive role, but I wanted to get into the game because, I mean, everything else was already in the game, but my rook wasn't. So I struggled a little bit in the middle trying to find that win, but we were able to find something eventually. But I think that's good. That's enough for that game. We're at 28 minutes, so this might be a really long video. And coming into my loss of the day, chess analysis. I'm going against Pranav Nair, who's 1463. So every single opponent I played was lower rated than me, unfortunately. Even though I was playing the under 1800, there were not many 1700s or 1600s, which is really weird. Anyways, he played this opening, and we went into, I guess, is this another Trompowsky attack kind of thing? No, this is the Tor attack. I don't know. Lots of things. But it kind of translates into a queen, or some sort of like Queen's Gambit. Anyways, I thought, yeah, I was thinking about like these moves over here, where like if I take here, and if he takes back with this pawn, I could take over here, and all of a sudden he has an isolated pawn, and this could be a good target in the future. So I should have played that, but I never did. Anyways, I just played this. I was also thinking about some ideas, like where maybe if I do take here, his pawn takes, and if I take here and his knight takes, maybe there's some eventual like queen a5, which checks him and takes this piece or something. But this knight, if this knight ever takes here, then I'll be covering this. And if the bishop takes, then there just is no check in the first place. So that never came to fruition. So I kept developing, played like this. He took over here, which was interesting. And I played b6, trying to get my other bishop into the game. This is like very basic, just kind of slow shuffling chess. Very boring. And if you guys look at the position after like a little bit of trades as well, it's very, very symmetrical. I mean, 2 pawns, both sides on the queen side, 4 pawns, both sides on the king side. And actually right now they're the same exact pawns as well. Knights in the center, pawns, bishops are on the queen side right now, looking towards the king side, I guess. So this was really boring. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was super bored and really angry at my opponent for not playing something fun. So I tried to get a bit more bit what's it called? I guess spicy, a bit more risky, trying to just play around, force something to happen because oh my god, this is so boring. Knight b5 is a move. Knight b4 is a move here, I guess, just attacking this bishop because bishops are better than knights in the endgame. But I played g3. G3 being that I want to play something like e5, but if this knight comes over here, it'll be pretty bad because it's still attacking my queen. So I want to take away that square, and of course, it's giving my king some space. He moves his queen over here, and I should have played knight b4 here because, again, just going for that piece. And it also defends this pawn. So right now, with queen this move, he adds another attacker to this pawn, and I only have one defender. So knight b4 defends and also attacks, so it would have been nice. But I played e5, pushing his knight away, and then I played queen g5, which apparently was the best move. But it gets really risky over here because I missed this move. I played way too hastily. I played this maybe in like 10 seconds. Again, I was very angry at my opponent for playing something so boring. And right after I played f5, I was like, wait, knight c3 is really interesting. It attacks this, and my bishop's looking at this bishop. Does that work? And apparently it was the best move, and it would have given me like a -2 advantage because he doesn't want to lose his queen. And if he tries to move his queen, he doesn't want to lose his bishop either. He's just going to lose, straight up. So he has to take here, but if he takes here, then I take here. There's a mate threat right now, so pretty dangerous. So you can't just take this free pawn. Apparently, yeah, if he goes f6, then you just go all the way back. You can defend this pawn, and you're still pretty good. He has damaged pawn structure. You should be slightly better. If he plays f4, it's a bit different, I guess. This would be the move, adding a defender to your rook. So if he does take here, you can play this move. So now you're attacking his rook and his queen, and he doesn't have really a way to kind of just take here because of your queen defending. Apparently, this is still the best move because everything else is just really bad, I guess. Like, I mean, the position is just really bad for a white, but that's what should have happened. But I missed it. I played f5, and this forces on more trades, and he plays this move, and I started getting a little scared because if I back up here, I was like, well, I'm going to lose this pawn, and then I don't know what's going to happen. Like this, he takes here. I got a little scared. I'll be honest with you guys. I got scared. There's lots of hanging pieces, I thought, and I wasn't sure exactly how to hold it. I didn't see something like queen e6. Apparently, it's actually -2 still, which is really interesting, even though I'm down a pawn. Yeah, I don't know how. That's crazy. Even after something like this, I guess. Oh, and it's because of some funny stuff here. Yeah, that's amazing. I did not see any of this. But this would have been completely winning for me. But I got scared, so I played this move. After he takes, I take. He gets a free pawn. And now it gets really risky. Now, there's two ways to play this endgame. You either play here, he comes down here, he takes here, you take here, you take here, something like this, he takes, you take, something like this. I don't know. It seems very passive because at least white's rook is getting some action, right? I didn't know if I wanted that. I don't know if I want my opponent to get some good action. So I played rook c2, which is much more active. I'm threatening to take this pawn. I'm also threatening this like windmill thing right here. So the threat being that like if he plays a really dumb random move like this, check with the bishop, come back, set it up again, take here, check, and then I can. Oh, I also have checkmate. I don't know why I was taking so many random pawns because apparently there was just checkmate. Yeah, so going back to the very beginning, there's a checkmate here because the king can't go anywhere. So after rook blocks, you just take with the bishop and it's game over. That's funny. I don't know why I was just running circles for no reason. That is funny. But anyways, my opponent saw this, so he played this move, and I have to make a decision. Either I just trade off pieces, or I play bishop b3. I traded off the rooks, which is a mistake. My opponent has two passed pawns, kind of. They're doubled, but they're still passed pawns. And my opponent eventually pushes them to the end. So I didn't end up notating too much of the game afterwards. But apparently this was the best move over here. And I looked at this move. And of course, if he just takes here, then... Or if he just takes my rook, I'll just take back with the bishop. And all of a sudden, I'm just completely winning. So he has to take here first. And apparently, you're still not supposed to trade here. You're supposed to go ahead and eat some of these pawns. Eat some of the pawns for breakfast. So after something like this, he takes here, this. If If he takes here, then he's about to lose this pawn as well. So still drawn. And remember, this is a rook in the game, so it's very scary. And they're often drawn. Even if you're up a pawn on one side, it's just messy. But I took here, and after h4, I played h4 because you don't want his king to come in. So I played something like h4 and then g5, so I could kind of like lock up this position. So I was controlling this square, this square, this square, this square, this square, of course, and like the bishop's also controlling like some light squares. Unfortunately, it did not work out because after something just so simple as g3, I have no way to actually make progress. Because if I push this pawn, and I mean, even his king is really far away. If his king is really far away, he does not have to take. And actually, after something like this, oh my god. So, let's see. I know he played g3. I don't think I played h4 though. Anyways, deleting these because not really part of it. But if you like go g3 and I play like this move because I want to, and his king is somewhere like over here in the center, I can't really play h4 because he's not forced to take. Of course, if he does take, then I take back this other pawn, and all of a sudden I have a pass pawn. But he's not forced to do so. Same thing happened on this side. I wasn't able to make a pass pawn. If I was able to make a pass pawn, maybe things would have been interesting, but I lost, unfortunately. Was not able to. That was the game that I did lose. Heading on to my final game against Mr. Aaron. Let's see. Let's go back to the beginning. There we go. Here's the game. I was playing white, and it was a Caro-Kann exchange variation. So, yes, I called my last game really boring, and I played the exchange variation. I understand. I'm a hypocrite. But I mean, look at this. This is much more like actiony than my opponent than my last game. Like, look, pawn. Like, I mean, already the pawn structure is not symmetrical, right? There's holes over here and holes over here. It's very different, and we're gonna see like a minor piece balance probably. I mean, all of a sudden, like trades are happening in the center of the board, and like, look at this. The pawn structure is very different. This is cool. This entire thing, so the thing with exchange variation and why people don't really like them is because they're very drawish. I can do almost any like normal developing move. You can see castles, bring this knight out, put the queen over here, and it's all about the same. So it's hard to really go over anything in the exchange variation other than ideas. So I'll tell you what my idea was. Well, with bishop h2, I'm going to play something like f4, make sure this knight stays in the center of the board. If he ever takes, I take back with the pawn, and maybe I make another semi-open file over here. That's the idea. Other than that, I can't really say anything else because there aren't really any mistakes. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Going back over here. Yeah, there just really aren't any mistakes. And we end up in this position where it's just really drawish. He takes my pawn. I go ahead and defend it. He should have come over here attacking my bishop. But after something like this, I can go back here, controlling this square, and should be fine. I do not want to play something like b4, though. Because if I play b4, it's a little scary because after he comes back, maybe this pawn becomes super weak. So I never play b4. Maybe I should have, but I'd never do. But anyways, he goes ahead, brings this bishop over here, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll trade. I didn't know. I didn't want to put my bishop on f1. And the second best move after that is this trade. So trade it was. He took with this pawn. Of course, if he takes with this pawn, it's a little suspicious that he would take with this. I guess he's making another, semi-open file, but then this pawn becomes a lot weaker without this pawn to reinforce it. So doesn't make any sense. So he just played this move. Now over here, yeah, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I gotta get my knight into the game. So looking for squares. Oh, there's a square right here. That's okay. There's this square over here. It'd be nice if we could play something like this. Maybe this square, but kind of just really quickly kicks me off like this, and he fixes like all his pawn structure and whatever. So it doesn't. I wasn't really sure, but yeah, I chose this one. That was the easiest. So I put my knight over there. Very nice. My opponent also has similar ideas. Like this is a square. This is a square. This is a square. If you could get like over here, that would also be an interesting square, but he needs some protection. I'm not sure how he would stay alive after something just like defending the pawn first and then sliding it over to d2. You'd have to push that knight back, but he has a lot of open squares for outposts. But so he goes ahead, puts his rook over here. I play f4 because now again it's about ideas and like an exchange variation because it's so like drawish. But I guess the idea was to play on the king side, so I'm gonna play something like g4, try to blow stuff open over on the king side. That did not work out very well. He played this move. I played rook e3, best move according to the engine. Nice. Just stopping him from coming in here because that would be very devastating. I can't really stop him from coming over here, and I don't care. I guess fine. You can have this piece. You can have this square. He's not really doing too much there. When I play g4, he jumps into the square. He's not really doing too much over here. Here I play f5, which was a mistake. I mean, engine moves don't really help too much again in this kind of game because, well, all moves are kind of okay, right? Like, I mean, look, if we even switch to 5 lines instead of just 3, you can see there's just so many lines. I guess I can't even see this one, but yeah. So king g2, king h2, rook c1. I'm not even sure what this does. You're putting it behind a pawn that's already protected, but a pawn. So I don't even know why you'd do that. h4. That's something that actually might be like a kingside attack thing. But rook a2. What? Rook a2? What are you doing? I guess rook a2, slide this over, and then maybe you can put a rook here, but then why wouldn't you just go here and just put a rook like this? This is better, and you're not losing a pawn in the meantime. I want to continue my kingside attack because that's what I want to learn how to do better. Unfortunately, the engine doesn't help too much with that, but I guess h4 is what we were looking for, so I guess, yeah, let's say he plays something like this. Again, like, there's just these random moves because it's just so solid. Nothing is really to be done. Dead even. 5 moves. And they're just kind of just like shuffling pieces around. Look at this. It's weird. Just shuffling pieces around. It's a dead draw. There's no way to make any progress because what can black do? I mean, if they ever move this, they lose this pawn. They don't want to do that. Why would you move your knight? It's already in a brilliant spot. White would like to put his knight here, but of course the opponent knight's already controlling that, and it's impossible to go there because of these pawns. It would be he can't move this pawn, or else he just drops one. So black can't do anything because I never played b4 and made this weak. White doesn't seem to, I guess, do anything either. I was hoping that I could make some sort of attack, but apparently not. Apparently there's just nothing at all. I mean, I literally, like, you can play anything. King h1. Okay, maybe not king h1 because it's a check and it's losing control of a lot of good squares. King g2 is fine. This is fine. This is apparently also fine-ish, but yeah, this is still a little scary. And you're gonna give him get some checks, like, after, yeah, this is still, I don't know why you do this. But really, there's so many just like dead drawn things. You could just play like really kind of anything and you just be fine. But that's not what I want to do. I want to like learn how to attack. So I played this, which was a horrible mistake because after something like rook e8, all of a sudden, I have no way to defend this pawn. I was like, oh, oops. I thought about e6 because at least if I play e6 and he takes back, at least it's not attacking my knight. But I was like, wait, maybe he just takes with the pawn instead. And now these pawns are also together and they're going to be racing at the board. And it's going to be a whole mess. So that would be fun. I kept it over here because if the rook takes, at least there's an isolated pawn. Maybe we can make a target in the future. But yeah, that's what we do. We move over here. He gives me a check. He goes here, which kind of lines him up for a pin. So I thought knight f3 would be a really good move because if he just doesn't, oh, of course he would just take, but if he does something dumb like this, I guess we'd fork. But if he does something really dumb like this, we would just take here. He takes, I take, he takes, and it's drawable. We can win this pawn back. It's messy, but it's drawable. My opponent chose to play this move, so if I take here, he can take this piece. Apparently, I should have played rook d4. I played this move, which was a mistake. If I play rook d4, I'm not exactly sure what happens. I guess my opponent's not threatening anything. But a5. Let's say we play f5, just solidifying all this. You take here. Oh, so you can get rid of this defender. That makes sense, actually. So you take here, he takes back. You take here, he takes here. But it's still a little risky. And I guess it's apparently dead draw. I don't know. It's really messy. But what if he just kind of just like pulls... Oh, he can't really pull this piece out, actually. Where does he go? He can't go anywhere. The rook's kind of trapped. So maybe if we play something like this first. Same thing happens though, where it's drawn, which is really interesting. But that's not what I played. I played this, and my opponent was like, oh, that's a fork. That's unfortunate. I took his king, and throughout the rest of the game, my opponent was very sad because I'm just up a piece, and this is easy enough. I played this move because, of course, if he takes this knight, then I just push. But after I play something like a6, he can never take this knight, and you can't ever take this pawn. So you try to go up, but then you fork, and I went on the other side of the board. And that's just checkmate with a queen. Very simple. So 2 checkmates with a queen today in today's games. Very interesting. But that was the tournament. So I think I got 4th place. I haven't checked the final standings. I didn't stay around for that war ceremony because I wasn't going to get any of the prize money. That was 3 out of 4 is not good enough. But still, they were pretty fun games, except for that 3rd game, which was super boring. So boring that I made a blunder just to not be bored, just so I could have some action. But yeah, that was a tournament, and it was a pretty fun one. Other than that game, so very nice opponents. All were pretty cool, and great opportunities to learn from all over the place. But I think that should be it for this video. And game analysis, like the normal, play a game and we'll analyze it afterwards, should also still come out today. But for this video, that should be it. So I'll see you guys later.